listening to Planery, the podcast, your guide to home building, renovation and design. I'm your host, Emma, an architect and business owner with over 15 years industry experience, bringing you new episodes each week to answer all of your questions and provide clarity so you feel confident to design your dream home. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast, or if it's your first time here, welcome to Planery and the Planery community. We are so thrilled to have you. Today, I'm going to be tackling a topic that resonates with so many of us, and especially us here in Melbourne, let me tell you, and that is maximising small spaces. Whether you live in a cozy apartment, a compact townhouse, or simply have a room that feels like it's a little bit too tight, designing small spaces requires creativity and thoughtful planning. The good news is that with the right strategies, you can even make the smallest space feel functional, stylish, and open. In this episode, we'll explore smart layout ideas, clever storage solutions, and even a couple of design tricks that can create the illusion of space. We'll also be discussing how to choose the right materials and furnishings to enhance those small areas in your home. Plus, we'll be sharing real-life examples and insights from design experts to inspire your next project. So by the end of this episode, you'll be ready to transform your tiny space into something truly spectacular. Let's start by understanding the unique challenges of small spaces. And let me tell you, I have lived in my fair share of one-bedroom apartments over the years, and particularly here in Melbourne, people can never believe how small the spaces are, and including stacker car spaces because we don't even have room in the car park, and a whole host of different storage problems. So I have had to get creative over my life to live in these spaces, and I'm fortunate enough to live in a beautiful home now, but I've never forgot the way that I addressed a lot of the unique challenges of dealing with a small space. And some of those limitations can often include storage constraints, so less room for closets and clothing, less cabinets, and no space for any bulky furniture. There can also be a lot of visual clutter, so small spaces can start to feel really busy and overcrowded if they're not organized and cleaned regularly. A lot of multi-purpose needs are served in these spaces. Like sometimes I remember I lived in a studio apartment at one point and I just had a sliding door on my bedroom. So my bedroom was the kitchen, the living room, and the dining room. And it was quite a lot to take in all at once that it was serving all of that. I think I even had my desk in there as well during COVID times. So it was a whole thing. And the other one is limited natural light. Sometimes a smaller room in your home or in an apartment, it might have fewer windows or less access to direct natural light. And that can often make some of these deep spaces feel darker. So I'm going to both acknowledge and address these challenges. And the first step is designing solutions that work for you. And the key is to view these constraints as opportunities instead of limitations, and how we can use our creativity rather than looking at them as an obstacle. One of the most impactful ways to maximize a small space is by rethinking the layout, and that's where a designer comes in handy. So if you are struggling with this, feel free to head on over to our website, which is linked in the show notes, and you can book in a one-on-one spatial planning session. But here are some of my top strategies to consider. First one is open floor plans. If possible, remove any unnecessary non-load-bearing walls to create a more open and connected space. A lot of old spaces, whether they be apartments or houses, were little rabbit warrens, and they're very, very closed down. They have a lot of corridor space and a lot of doors and a lot of walls. So combining your living, dining and kitchen areas, or the KDL as we like to call it, is really a fantastic way to make the space feel larger and a lot more functional as well. Another one is to zone your space. Even in an open layout, it's incredibly important to define various zones. So if you want to have a rug or a furniture arrangement, maybe even lighting to separate out the areas, or even building in some joinery. Like if you know that you're going to have an at-home workspace, it would really be worthwhile us figuring out if that could be a built-in kind of situation, so that you aren't forever having to have a desk or all this random loose furniture around without kind of closing in these particular spaces. Another way to maximize small spaces is to go vertical. Think of your walls as extra square footage and install a lot of tall bookshelves, wall-mounted desks, floating cabinets, and a lot of different bits and pieces like this to make the most of your vertical space. Wall-mounted fold-out tables can also create flexibility for a dining room or working area if you are very tight on space, and these can either be proprietary items or custom designed by an incredible joiner or interior designer. Another one is to prioritize circulation, so make sure you are keeping pathways clear and avoiding overfilling the room with furniture. There is nothing worse than banging your legs as you're trying to walk through a space, or feeling like you can only walk one way instead of circulating around in a natural manner because things have been blocked. So really consider a well thought out flow, and that will make your space feel more open and accessible. Quickly interrupting the podcast to let you know about our upcoming in-person event. This will be held in Melbourne, and it's a Dream Home workshop on Saturday, the 22nd of March. If you're feeling overwhelmed about renovating or doing your new build home in 2025, you do not want to miss this event. I will be there to guide you through the process step by step. It is a half-day workshop with plenty of opportunity to learn, grow, and share with the rest of the community who will be there on the day. There's only 20 seats available with a couple of tickets gone already, so make sure you secure your space now. All of the details are in the show notes with a link, and it's also live on our website, which is www.planery.com.au. Another consideration is modular layouts, so opting for modular furniture that can be rearranged as needed. This might be something like a sectional sofa or stackable chairs, maybe even a sofa bed if you are having guests over and you don't have room for a second bedroom. And even little bits and pieces like this, they can just offer versatility in small spaces. Even the old-fashioned dining room extenders, I feel like I've seen these dining tables make a comeback, and that can be really handy for packing down your space when it's just you versus when you are entertaining as well. So for example, in one project, there was a studio apartment in Melbourne, and we used a fold down. Storage is often the biggest challenge in small spaces, and here are some of the best ideas that I have to maximize every square inch of your home. Number one is hidden storage. Looking for furniture with built-in storage like ottomans with compartments, beds with drawers underneath. This is my personal favorite for storing all of my bulky jackets and pajamas. Coffee tables with lift-up tops. Any of these kind of multifunctional pieces will ensure that every item has place, and you are just maximizing every little thing that you possibly can in your home. Using nooks and crannies, so don't overlook spaces like the area underneath stairs, above doors, or in your corners. These spots can be transformed into storage with custom shelving or cabinets. For example, any unused corner could house a floor-to-ceiling bookshelf or a compact workstation. I also recommend people, even if you are renting, if you're allowed to put holes in the walls, or if you are renovating and building a new home, that you can add things like robe hooks to the walls to store your coats. And this can just be a beautiful decorative item as much as it is functional as well. Multifunctional furniture is another great idea. So investing in pieces that serve multiple purposes, for example, a dining table that doubles as a desk or a bench, and something that is a bench with storage inside. So fold-out desks and wall-mounted beds are also excellent choices for maximizing functionality. Another one is hooks or pegboards. So wall-mounted hooks and pegboards are really versatile for storing items like kitchen utensils. You might have even seen magnetic rails where you can stick the knives on them instead of having a knife block on your bench. So that will free up a little bit more of your bench space. There are also other ways that you can add accessories into your bedrooms and bathrooms, like baskets and bins to the pegboard. And again, that's just making space of some of that. Multifunctional furniture is another great thing. So investing in pieces that serve multiple purposes. So that might be a dining table that can double as a desk, or even a bench with storage inside. I actually have one of these. It is a little buccal bench, and it lifts up and has a whole bunch of storage inside, which is excellent for things like, I don't know, even like a Christmas tree or some books or handbags, like whatever it is that you may not have cupboard space for, you can always find a use for a storage bench. Even having a fold-out desk, this can be an excellent choice for maximizing functionality. So just have a think in your space about different ways you could do this, and you can even jump on Pinterest and do a little bit of research, because this is a little bit of a Japanese principle. Also in a lot of Scandinavian homes, they are incredibly skilled at using storage and making the most of a small space. Lastly, transparent storage. This can be things like clear bins and jars to help you organize while keeping items visible. This might be something like in your kitchen to organize a pantry, or even in your bathroom and under storage cupboards as well, to make ease when you need to locate things quickly. Before we move on to a couple more design tricks and material choices, I want to remind you to visit our website at www.planery.com.au or follow us over on Instagram at Planery Homes. It's all linked in the the show notes down below. And here is where you can find tips and free resources such as our ebook collection. We also have a lot of inspiration for small space design on the blog. And don't forget to subscribe to our weekly newsletter for exclusive updates, discounts, and bonus content. Now let's dive back into the episode. Designing small spaces isn't just about functionality, it's also about creating the illusion of openness. Here are some design tricks to help. First of all, using light colours. Light neutral colours make a room feel larger and brighter, so soft whites, greys, pastel tones for walls, and also using light colours for your furniture. I cannot stress this enough as someone who loves to experiment with different colours. The more warmer and lighter the colours, the bigger your space will feel, and also adding clever things like depth and a pop of colour in accessories. You can always interchange pieces like throw pillows or artwork, but keep your key pieces in light colours instead. The second one is quite obvious, but really helps in these small spaces, and that is styling with mirrors. Mirrors reflect light and they also create the perception of depth. A large mirror on a wall or mirrored furniture can dramatically open up a space, so consider placing mirrors opposite windows, which can also help to amplify natural light. Another one is having minimalist decor. Less is really more in small spaces, so choosing a few key decor pieces rather than cluttering shelves or walls with too many items will really serve you in helping your space feel larger. Consider having a clean, uncluttered look, and that will really help you out with your small space. Lastly, I would say curtains and blinds. Using floor-to-ceiling sheer curtains can create the illusion of taller ceilings. These sheer fabrics also let in more natural light whilst maintaining privacy and also allowing you to look out and still see your views. Materials and finishes play a crucial role in the design of small spaces, so here's a couple of my top things to keep in mind. Number one is reflective surfaces. Glossy finishes on cabinets, countertops, like tiles and things as well. They can reflect light and really make a small room feel larger. This can be a great tactic for a small bathroom or a small bedroom, and even a small living space as well if you have the kitchen all in one. Metallic accents like brass or chrome can also add a touch of luxury whilst enhancing a little bit more light reflection than opting for something like black fixtures and fittings instead. Lightweight fabrics like sheer curtains or light-coloured upholstery can also help to avoid overwhelming the space, and I would recommend layering fabrics with texture to add warmth without bulk. Natural elements like wood or stone can add a lot of warmth and texture, so if you are renovating, consider adding some small touches like a wooden shelf or a stone planter, and this can really help make all the difference because it will really bring the outdoors in and offer that mental connection to those two spaces. Another very clever one is continuous flooring. I cannot stress this enough. If you have a small space and you are using something like an engineered timber board, use the same flooring throughout the entire space. This will create the illusion of a larger space and have a very seamless look. This is something like a light-coloured wood or a light-coloured tile, and that will not only brighten up the area as well, but it also just allows for that consistent material. And then when it comes to bedrooms, instead of segmenting them to carpet, timber, and tile in the bathroom, you can still obviously tile your wet areas for practical reasons, but having that timber flooring run throughout your bedroom and then just adding a rug will allow that space to feel so much larger. Last of all, consider texture. Opt for smaller patterns or really subtle texture in wallpapers, rugs, and fabrics to avoid visual overwhelm. Really busy patterns can make a space feel small and chaotic, and that is definitely the opposite of what you want when you're already dealing with a smaller space. So let's recap on the key points from today's episode. Today we were talking about maximizing small spaces, and that means addressing the unique challenges of small spaces by focusing on layout, storage, and lighting, using strategies like open plan, vertical storage, and multifunctional furniture, incorporating design tricks like light colors, mirrors, and minimalist decor, selecting materials and finishes that reflect light, feel lightweight, and add warmth without bulk, and finally remembering that every small space has potential with the right approach. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Planery. If you enjoyed it, make sure you are following us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this podcast. And if you feel like you loved this episode and found it helpful, please give us a 5-star rating or review. It would really help us out as a small female-founded podcast. And next time, we will be exploring some more options in the home renovation and dream home design space. So make sure you are following us and have your notifications turned on. Until then, take care and happy planning.